Well, hello everyone. I'm really excited today. If you've been following me at all, you know I've been doing these little interviews with people who I know and love and I know have had huge change in their lives due to the access bars and their choice, because that's always a big part of access bars and choosing and allowing the bars to work their magic in that way. So these two gentlemen, I have had the pleasure. I met them. I don't know how long has it been? 6, 7 years.
Uh, about 6 years
6 years,
ago.
yeah.
Yeah. So I met them. We actually did an access event someplace where you both were working. It was in Africa, South Africa, where you're both from. And you guys were working at the place that we did our event. And through that process, well, I got to know them, but also they were the basically Access decided these are amazing people and we want them working with us. So we kind of poached them a bit. Is that correct? That's kind of correct, right?
That's correct, Jess.
Which
Yeah.
I mean, I know for me, like I had started to do big events with Access kind of right before you guys came on, and being able to do events with you over the years, like I have learned so much. You're so amazing at that. So that's a side note. That's not even about the bars, but I wanted them to come on because you also do some amazing. Well, first of all, you guys have an amazing story about finding bars, which I would love for you to speak to. And also, you guys are amazing at taking bars into the world. Like you guys do a lot of expos, you talk to a lot of people about bars. And I think for people who find access bars, there's like the twofold thing where they find it, like I found it and I was like, I really required bars. But then, like, I think for a lot of people, it has such an effect in your world and it changes so much. You want other people to know about it. And that can sometimes be the tricky piece with a lot of people. Like, I don't know how to talk to people about this, I sure as hell don't know how to go to an expo and talk to it. So, anyways, this is going to be like a little quickie conversation with these two gentlemen. And we've just talked about before we came on live that we are going to do something in the near future where you could come on with us, ask us all the questions you want to know. Like I said, all of us have done a lot of access events. We have all, these guys have done amazing things with like expos and information things. So I'm excited for that. Anyway, now that I've been talking forever, what I would love to hear is your guys' story, because I know your life was on a particular trajectory and then enter access bars and your life went whoop completely in a different direction. So I would love for you to just say a little bit about that.
Yeah, it did. Our lives changed dramatically, and what I like to say is like access bars found me. I know I was looking for something different, and I knew there was something different in the world. I just didn't know what it was. And then, like you said, Access came to the venue where Jaco and I worked. And long story short, Gary Douglas, the founder of Access, and Simone and Dane, they saw something in us, our kindness, our energetics, and they offered us
Our
a job.
Excitement about bars.
And it wasn't a thing for me at that stage. But then what happened was, like, the next day, I actually had a bar session, not knowing what to expect, what it's going to do or anything.
Yep.
And I promise you, after that session, about 2 hours later, my world just spiraled into so many different possibilities and choices that open up for me. And I get that's where we chose to choose differently, not like, go and work overseas, move to Australia.
It was never a possibility in our worlds then.
Yeah.
But when this group of Access people arrived for this event, and we working behind the scenes, and we were just looking at them, and we were saying, these people look joyful, They look
happy.
happy. They seem to know something. So
Yeah.
we need to know what that is. And that is what, that inquisitiveness that, like, we used every opportunity to sneak into the room to try and overhear what they're talking about. And until the point where, they actually said, just come in the room and get your bars run. I was down on a table for probably, I don't know, maybe 90 minutes, hour and a half, around there. And during this session, I mean, growing up and living in South Africa, you see a lot of stuff, right? There's a lot of violence, there's a lot of tension, there's a lot of racial stuff going on and all of that. And but we thought we were good. But in this bar session, I could actually physically perceive how my body was releasing and letting go of that traumas and those barriers and those limitations. And I just could see this world of possibilities. And I was just amazed. It felt like I was on like a 2-month holiday after that session. I was so relaxed. I couldn't even be bothered with the boss, and then,
And
it's just.
And the interesting thing about the Access bars for me is like, you don't have to have any expectations to have a session.
Totally.
Like,
I loved that. Me too.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's like you actually, and when we talk to people at the expo or the markets about it, and a lot of people will go, oh, what can I expect? Or are you reading my mind? Or can I tell you what's my problem? That's not what it is. It's like, it's a kindness to you and your body where you can, and what I tell people is like, where in this reality or where in your life can you actually just lie down for 90 minutes and relax? It's like switching off from this world, and you can really relax and receive the change that
And
it
I mean,
brings.
you could app, but that doesn't have that effect. This person who is touching these points on your head, they are contributing to you and your body.
Yeah.
They are helping to facilitate the change that your body is desiring and requiring. So you're literally in their hands, which is so great because you can relax and know that they are going to help facilitate the change that your body needs.
Yeah.
And I love that for me, like that was the big thing when I found bars, because I had tried so many things that hadn't worked. And at that point, really probably 90% of my world was like, I must be broken because everything I try that seems to work for everyone else doesn't work for me. And I had gotten into such a loop of trying to fix whatever I decided was broken, which was basically everything about me.
Yeah.
That I was so sick of like, oh my God, I just am tired of trying, but I'm not a person who gives up either. So that's a really funky place to live in. And for me, the idea of just laying there and I didn't have to like know what I was doing or think my way through it, or I wasn't having to do anything cognitively to fix it. I could just relax. And it was amazing to me that the minute, like when I would get up from sessions, you can just perceive a difference. You don't really necessarily know what that difference is, but everything is just softer. Like the world isn't so loud, things aren't so intense, and things just started changing without me going like, I want to change XYZ. I just had a different experience with my life. And I mean, that was such a huge, huge gift. Yeah. And for me, like, I mean, when I found bars, like I thought I was afraid to fly. Like I hadn't very, very traveled. I didn't own a passport. I had no intention of going anywhere. That was so outside of my world. And by the time I met you guys, which I think I was like years in, I like had traveled to places like I never considered. I mean, I met you guys when I came to South Africa, for crying out loud. Like that would have never been in my world. And so it's just amazing to me what you're able to choose beyond what you think is possible for you, simply by laying on a table and putting someone having their fingertips on points on your head. And sometimes I feel a little weird saying that to people because I'm like, it sounds so too good to be true.
Yeah, it is.
But it works. I mean,
it works. But how many people do you know that is their experience? Like you guys had a very similar experience.
What it does, Cara, is it explodes your limitations.
Totally.
We get in this reality so many limitations. Like I'll just use myself as an example. Growing up in South Africa, traveling internationally it's highly unlikely.
Yeah.
It's unlikely, right? So you're going to work. You're just going to earn enough money, to make a living, just only, and that's your future, and that's how.
Yeah.
So you've got that collective belief system, but when you get rid of those limitations that don't belong to you, and this is where the bars are so magical, because that is what makes those limitations go away.
It creates the space of choosing more for you.
Yeah, and you are like, okay, I could go anywhere. All I need is a passport. And
it's so interesting talking about traveling, because when we lived in South Africa before I met Jaco, I lived in London for 4 years, and that was my traveling experience.
Yeah.
And then we had our bars run. We met Access Consciousness, got into the whole bars business, and I think Jaco's got this app that tracks all your traveling.
Yeah.
And if you calculate all the mileage that he traveled around the world like 8 times in 7 years. And it's like, what else is possible, and what else can you create if you just, and even if you just allow it one session, just that one session can change so much in your life. And we see this with the expos that we run for Access Consciousness.
So many people come to the expo and they're like, okay, so the Mind, Body, Spirit expos, festivals, it's all about Reiki and pranic healing and all of these modalities, right? So there is a lot of options, right? So people walk in there and they like assessing the whole situation and trying to see. But when they walk past our stand, the Access stand, and everyone's lying down, getting their bars run, they just stop.
They just like, I want that.
They're like, I don't know what it is. I want that. And this is where it's so phenomenal, because then they're not trying to figure it out. They're not trying to achieve anything with it. They just want to experience it. And then the change is so, so, so big for them.
Totally.
So, yeah.
It's big, but it's also subtle. It's like it just kind of infuses into your life. And all of a sudden you look back 6 months later and you're like, wow. Yeah. I'm like doing things I never thought I would do. I'm saying things I never thought I would say. I'm talking to people I never thought I would talk to. I mean, it completely exploded my world. Like I have most of my really dear friends and people that I love and adore in my life don't live anywhere. They don't even live on the continent I live on.
Yeah.
Like I would have never, like if you told me that was going to be my world, I would have been like, no, come on. Like, cause like what I was creating for myself was very, it wasn't like, I had a lot going on, but I also had a lot of, supportive family. And, I had like the regular normal life creation that most people think is the thing. But, bar, it's such a cool thing. It's amazing.
It's a good point you make, that it's quite subtle, the changes. I mean, the changes can be huge when you look back and you measure where you came from.
Yeah.
I've seen some really interesting, scenarios at the expos where little autistic children, they feel so drawn, to the Access stand, and they just want to do the bar session. And it's just, it's phenomenal just how that change can be so and just so inviting for people.
But it's also like you need to be willing to receive it.
Yeah.
You need to choose for you. I mean, you get people at expos or markets that will walk past your stand for every time you're there. Like every weekend when we do the markets, you have people walking past, and then just one day they're like, oh, I never saw you here before. And I'm like, we've been doing this for years.
We actually know you.
Like, I mean, I think we can do, Cara, you, myself, and Yaku can do a call just on the experiences that we have from people
Totally.
at their bars run at markets, apart from our experience and our change.
Yeah.
But it really creates something different in your life. And I cannot recommend it more highly for people just to try it and see if it works for you, it works for you. If it doesn't, then try something else.
Yeah, I mean, it's like we run hundreds and hundreds of sessions across My Body Spirit Festival, for instance, over 3 days, right? And every now and again, we get a customer who are really, they would be very reluctant to choose it. And then the important thing is not to try and force them into it and just be the possibility. And so a lot of times it's about the money, right? They don't want to spend $50 for a 30-minute session or whatever. In which case we then say to them, that's fine. We'll do the session. And if you are completely unhappy at the end of it, you don't have to pay us.
Just
right?
walk away.
Just walk. And never, ever has it happened. They always insist on paying. So,
well, and that's the thing too. It's like, it breaks through the molds of that thing, because how many of us, that's like, we learn how to use money as an excuse to not choose things.
that's it.
So that's like our fallback, right? We have all these weird fallbacks that we learned.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's a brilliant thing to like know how to kind of, a little bit of manipulation doesn't hurt anyone. I call it fuckery. It's a little bit of fuckery.
Yeah.
But it's like allows them to actually choose something without the, having the limitation.
Enforced, yeah.
It takes that money thing out of it.
Yeah.
And it's like, what if I could receive this? And then they see the value of it. And I mean, what is more valuable than honoring your body for 60 minutes or 90 minutes or whatever? Lots of people, it's the first time they actually fully receive.
Yeah. And a few times where we ask this question is like, if I gift you this session, will you actually receive it? And then you energetically get a yes. And that person has a session, they don't pay for it. And then tomorrow they come back and they're like, can I have an hour session, please? Here's my money.
Yeah. And I brought my neighbor or my friend.
And it's such an easy way to grow your business and, not just Access business, but your relationships. I mean, if I look at how our relationship grew with the Access bars, how it diffused situations, and it's just like, I get so excited talking about bars because there is so, like, there's modalities that just work for a certain aspect in your life or, something specific, but the Access bars just covers everything.
Yeah. Well, and the thing that like popped that I wanted to like go back to is because when you said we run hundreds of bar sessions, one of the things that I find so amazing, and I don't know how much people get to hear about it, is that when you are gifting a bar session, you're also receiving. And so when you build a business and you are like running bars all the time, the amount of change and peace and ease that you actually receive from having your hands on that many people's heads, running bars that often, you can't even explain it. It's like so phenomenal. It's not explainable. And so you're building a business where you're actually getting to put something in front of people that could potentially change their whole life. Minimally, they'll feel great for the day. And you're also building a business that's going to contribute back to you. Like, how many people build businesses, small businesses, that just suck the life out of them?
Yeah.
And they're down the road 15 years from now and they're like, I mean, this was fun. It's not fun anymore. And like, for me, I know my husband's always said to me, because I've had moments where I'm like facilitating a lot and then I'm not really doing much. And then, I've had the thing that all humanoids do. And he said the one thing that is always consistent is that if I come home from work, I can tell just by how you are as like in your world, like how happy I am, how light I am, that you've facilitated that day.
Yeah.
So it's a gift all the way around. And so to have something that you can create a business with that like builds into you. I mean, how many things are out there that are like that? Very, very few.
It's joyful just to sit at these mind, body, spirit festivals. That's why we have so many helpers, you know, people just sitting there. We literally have to pull them off the chair and say, hey, can you go on lunch? I think you need to eat something, because they're just sitting
Yeah,
there.
because it's amazing to run bars. Like, I actually ran bars on someone today who'd never received bars, and like I got done and I was so like giddy. I was like, oh my God. And I'm still like that. And I'll be like that like at least today. You know what I mean? So it's like it's such a phenomenal gift. And we started this out, both of us knowing, all three of us were like, okay, we could talk about this forever. We're going to get more excited as we go. And we could be on here an hour, which we know people's attention spans. So like definitely going to be wrapping up here. And I would say, please keep an eye out for something more with us, because I know there's something here we could create that I think would really contribute to people and would be fun. Selfishly, I would get to see you guys on a planned basis. That makes me happy. So stay tuned for more. And is there anything like in closing that you guys want to close with? Say.
Just get your bars run.
Yeah, I just want to say to people out there that's watching this video in the future, or you know, and make that jump and choose something different. Choose something that might just change your life.
Totally.
Okay, and embrace that change. You know, because it's phenomenal.
It is.
I so agree. Well, thank you everyone for staying with us for the full 21 minutes. Didn't feel like that.
No.
And we look forward to either seeing you in person in the future, or there are bars happenings going on globally. So if you want more information about bars, you can visit accessconsciousness.com/bars, or is it access bars? Just bars. And you'll find practitioners all over the world. You'll find bars classes all over the world. You'll find expos everywhere. So how does it get better than this? And thank you so much for coming on and talking with me.
Thanks for having us, Cara.
Bye.
Bye-bye.